And what happens is we're fed lies, and then all of a sudden we have these negative expectations in our marriage that, well, you're supposed to be this way. I mean, this is normal.
Yeah.
This is normal that our wives should act this way, and that is not normal. Yeah. That is not actually how they're wired and what their needs are.
This is Ryan and Michelle, and welcome to the Celebrate MarriageCast, where we hope to restore and reclaim godly marriages through honest and real conversations.
Welcome to episode 101. That's cool to say, 101. Yeah. We are so glad you're joining us today. You, our listener, we're just proud of you for making this time investment to work on growing your relationship. And today, we have a fun treat for you. We have really the person that was the conduit for launching the Celebrate MarriageCast is on our show today, Pastor Chris Fickel with Celebrate..church. He is our marriage and family pastor here at the church, and we're so glad to have you back on the show, Chris. Welcome.
Great to be on. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, Chris, great to have you on. We've had guest Tony Bohr on, talking about from a clinical standpoint of some of the things he's seeing in marriages. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really cool to jump in to have that discussion. We thought it'd be cool to have a similar discussion on a pastoral level. Like, what are you seeing? And we thought we'd have a show, just a conversation today about some of the things that you're seeing in marriages, maybe some issues, things that you see every day.
Yeah. Like a pastoral and really a spiritual level, right? So we've heard the one side list here from a pastor's heart.
Yeah. Appreciate it. Love to talk a little bit about that and what I see as a marriage pastor and what I get to experience with couples. So yeah, for sure.
And I just want to say too, Chris, you've been a guest on the show once or twice, but really you were the one that was kind of running this train forward and gathering all the people and putting this in place. And it's just been, we just came off the heels of episode 100, and it just is so fun to see what it's grown into. And you are behind the scenes, but very present every week in the show. So it's just really fun to have you on the show again and in front of the listeners.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. It's great to be on.
Yeah.
I will say that we've seen God do a lot of amazing things with marriages. A lot of it's been hard work, but what we've seen is that when couples really lean into God and really lean into the church and put in the hard work, God takes what really wasn't a marriage and turns it into not just a healthy marriage, but a marriage that they never even dreamed that they could have.
Wow.
I'll say that there's couples that are coming here that have been through the worst of the worst. They've leaned in, they put in the hard work. They've tried new things that were uncomfortable, had a lot of difficult conversations and counseling and all those things that they've gone through, and they've literally seen their marriage become something they never believed was even possible.
Wow. And
I would probably say even some of those couples probably have healthier marriages than most.
Wow.
At this point.
Praise Jesus for that.
Yeah.
We were just talking about, so a couple episodes ago, we did a show on Restore and Reclaim, and at the start of every podcast episode which is funny because Ryan, you were like, can I get that script again? Which is so funny. We say it every week, but getting the wording right. You say, what do you say? Restore and Reclaim godly marriages. And we talked about how we went to a car show, and a lot of those cars were maybe, rusted, whatever, and they were restored. But sometimes it seems that when you restore something, it's better than it was before, right? Like when you restore an old car, I don't know if it was that nice when it was new, it's just like top-notch quality. Yeah. And I feel like that's really God restoring those relationships better than what it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I met with a couple just the other day, and it's really bad. It's what I would say a toxic relationship. But, I can feel confident in saying that I can guarantee you that your marriage will be healthy if you do these things.
Yeah.
If you put God at the center, if you start putting some disciplines in place, do something different. And, hey, here's some real basic, simple assignments just to start gaining some traction in your marriage. I guarantee you, if you lean in on God and you keep God the center of what you're doing, and you change some things, you do some things different, I can guarantee you'll turn it around. So
awesome.
Now it's just up to them to choose to do that.
So Chris, for our listeners, you have like 3 big areas that people that are really struggling are not doing that you brought for us today. Would you be willing to just go through those? What is the first area that you're seeing? What are people not doing that they need to start like ASAP?
Yeah. So basically, the first one is this. I say no community. I would say by and large, hands down, most couples that come in that are having issues, really the core is that they don't have anybody. They don't have friends. So whatever it is that they're going through, they don't have anybody to walk with them. And so that's part of that healing process and the restoration process is, with some of these couples, it's very necessary for them to have counseling, therapy, professional help. But at the same time, it's also very important for them to have true godly community to be able to walk with them through the situations.
That's a good word.
Yeah. So, we were designed to be in community. I mean, it's all throughout Scripture. I just wrote down a few just to get an idea. So Acts 2, we read about fellowship, the breaking bread of the believers. Romans 12, all members are part of the body. Ecclesiastes 4, 2 are better than 1. Luke 10, Jesus talks, he answers the question, what's the most important commandment? And he says, well, it's love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. But then the second is just like it, love your neighbor as yourself. I mean, relationships. And then, of course, God demonstrates relationship himself with the Trinity.
Trying God.
So, and then, of course, Adam and Eve. I mean, we were designed to be in community. So when we're not and we're isolated, that's really the worst thing that we can do, is because that's not how we were designed. That's not how we were made. I mentioned this actually mentioned this last year, but I thought I'd bring it up again because there was this study that was done by the Surgeon General, and it was the study on loneliness and isolation. And it was really the number one problem I think this came out a year or two ago, actually. This was the number one problem that we're facing right now is loneliness and isolation. Yeah. And they did this study, and they said that the most staggering stat was the social engagement with friends. And it goes all the way back to since 2003. Wow. It has been a steady decline. And here's what it was. It declined from like last year. Since 2003, engagement has declined a total of 65%. What that equates to is, they said it was 60 hours of engagement per month down to 20 hours of engagement per month, which was a 65% decline since 2003. Wow. And the more staggering piece with all of that was that since 2013 is really when most of that decline happened. A lot of, we talk a lot about how, when COVID showed up and how we started isolating. COVID didn't really start that. That COVID, I think, exposed and heightened all of that and made it worse. But really, 2013 is when most of that decline happened.
I feel like that was probably around when social was really mainstream. I mean, so you said 2003. I think I got on Facebook in 2004, but really, they rolled it out to students and stuff like that first, but probably it was just mainstream by that point. And Chris, I think we just for my work and what I do professionally in marketing, we had a speaker come in and he talked about even for the next generation, Gen Z, that they're called the lonely generation because of the social media and how it's just formed this isolation. So they could be connected to thousands of people online, but still feeling really lonely. And I think, Ryan, for you and I to have a church community and be in a life group with people that you can share real and raw stuff with, and they love you, they encourage you, they give you advice, is so just like bucket filling. Like it's so important for us.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting and I would be curious, Chris, and I don't know the answer to this. Male versus female. Mm-hmm. Because from what I have seen, and again, like is typically, females have friends and have community, but men don't. And I just saying this because it's come to light in an example of just, a certain person having a group of friends and having family, and then, as a man, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's pride or what it is that going to another group of godly men and saying, I'm struggling, or I'm, whatever, fill in the blank, I'm struggling with this, or my marriage is in trouble, or whatever. I mean, I think we've seen that play out in different examples, Michelle, just, of happening. And I don't know why that is. But it's something that I've certainly noticed. And, I think community is so important to have people, in your life that are fighting for your marriage.
Yeah, I will say, I think there's some truth to that. I also know that from what we've experienced through doing the Authentic Manhood series, which we have another one, which is really cool. We're starting a fall course as well, offering an evening option.
Awesome.
Oh, cool.
So not only we're keeping our starting at the beginning of the year in January, which we go 24 weeks on that, but then we're also going to start an evening session on September 11th. But
give our listeners just a quick overview what that is, and maybe we can link the information in the show notes.
Yeah, so starting September 11th, we're starting our third session. It's a 24-week session. It's half the year, basically, and it just teaches men how to be godly men, how to be godly parents, how to be godly husbands, the man that God designed you to be.
It's cool.
And what I was going to say is what we've seen is that men actually really do open up to other men. I think part of it is they just need they need an atmosphere and an opportunity to be able to do that.
A safe
and
one
we've
too,
seen
right?
Literally this Authentic Manhood program, and it's old. It's like 20 some years old.
Well, we had him on as a guest, right? The creator of it, Robert Lewis.
Yep.
Pastor Robert Lewis. So that's cool.
Yeah, but it's wonderful content, and it's literally changed marriages and changed families, transformed them, and so we're just excited. We're going to keep doing it, and but I think by and large, I think if we create the opportunity, like specifically for men to connect with men, they are connecting and they are opening up.
That's amazing. Yeah,
that's great.
That's great.
Yeah,
I think too. I wonder, the people that are coming, you say they don't have community, is for some of them not having like God-centered community. Because I feel like that's a big thing too. You can be around people, but if they're not for your marriage, if they're not for you, if they're not for a marriage based on Christ's foundation, that also is really detrimental.
I think it's a combination of both.
Okay.
I mean, there literally are people that come in and they have no friends. They have nobody. And then, some of them, they do have some friends, but it's superficial friendships.
Yeah.
And by and large,
Not real.
people don't have deep friendships and they're longing for that. And like I said, we're made to be in community. So, I think some good practical steps to having community is, number one, just, find a local church home that you can connect with and start finding ways to build godly relationships. Get into a small group. We've got a small group that we meet tonight, and we've got there's about 10 of us that get together and just have some real discussions, conversations. We get into the Word and true friendships.
That's super cool, Chris.
Great. And it's like a family.
Yeah.
And we hang out, we do barbecues, and study the Word together. And
cool.
Got a group chat that goes on all during the week. With prayer requests and just cool, funny stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
Just ways to build community. What else I was going to say here? Small groups and and actually
serving
you touched
teams?
On it. Serving teams are another great opportunity as well. Yeah, just ways to build relationships and ways, even like the authentic manhood we talked about before, like those are that's a large group gathering, but at the same time what's happening is as small groups are formed at tables within the room. So that was really kind of our whole design and intention with that is, hey, this is a large group event, but it has the potential to break off into some small groups.
Absolutely.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So find community.
Yeah.
Number one.
Yep. And so the second one is no communication. And I think we talk about this all the time with marriage ministry. It's just people just don't communicate, but it is really true. I mean, there's so many times where I'll be meeting with a couple and they start sharing, their issues and the problems and what's going on. And, a lot of times it's like, wait a minute, you guys haven't even talked about this.
Wow.
Like, this is the first time we're talking about it.
You can tell when they're talking that they're like surprised what the other is saying.
Yeah. So there's couples by and large really don't talk. And when I mean talk, having communication, it's below the surface communication. It's emotional conversation. It's sharing the deeper stuff, which is really what we need. Guys don't need that as much. I believe we actually do need it, but we don't need it on the same level that women do. But we do need that emotional connection. And by and large, couples they're not doing that.
I think it's been years since this sermon, but it was like the word intimacy means into me you see, intimacy. And I just think of that with communication, like to have vulnerable, real conversation more than how's your day? Good, to go deeper into your spouse and to connect on that way is an intimate connection.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think this is so important, and I can speak into this just because we have mentioned this probably 100 times on the Celebrate MarriageCast.
Hey, we're on episode 101,
right? So here's 101. Michelle and I are very different communicators, and I think it's really important that may be you listening. You may be different communicators. What that means is don't stop communicating, because it could be very easy to stop.
Sure.
And I think that's something that we have both learned how, okay, this is how Michelle communicates, this is how I communicate. And that might be meeting in the middle on some things, but it potentially can be difficult, until you can learn to navigate that. But it may be different, but that doesn't mean to stop communicating.
That's a good point, Ryan, because when we're not in sync with the communication, the natural tendency could be to just shut down.
Yeah.
And I feel like if that goes on, it's just not healthy.
Right.
And I think that's where we've had to be intentional about, like, nope, we're not going to allow this to go into a shutdown. We need to figure it out. Yeah,
absolutely. And that's ongoing communication,
right.
of just continuing that. And like me specifically, like it's easy for me to shut down, and so it's actively, okay, no, I'm not going to do that. And we're going to talk, we're going to talk through it and, move forward.
Right. you shut down and I spiral.
Right.
So then like is finding the balance to connect, Ryan to acknowledge my feelings, for me to not get frustrated if he's not responding right away in our conversation. It's just finding that.
Yeah.
But it's a daily, working on it, just
absolutely.
being intentional about
Yeah.
it. Chris, how do people, if they're not communicating, what do they do? Where do they start? Or like, what do you tell people when they're in your office for pastoral counseling?
Yeah. So I just actually gave a really simple assignment to a couple the other day of like, okay, I want you to do this once a day every week. And this is really simple, but I just want you to say one encouraging, positive thing to your spouse at least once a day. Or maybe it's you write an encouraging note, or you tell them face to face, hey, I love you because of, or I appreciate you. There's pretty much right now it's like 100% negativity. So we just, this is a long process of healing, but just trying to gain some traction and some forward movement. And if we can just start going below the surface, more of just, hey, how was your day? But, hey, here's one thing that I really love about you. And so I wrote a couple suggestions down, and these are suggestions just for more meaningful conversation. So one, a good friend of mine who has been to different marriage seminars, he actually told me this not that long ago, but I thought it was really good. Ask this question. So maybe at the end of the day, you each ask this question to each other: what was it like being you today?
Oh, wow.
It's a great question.
Well, that is a great, Chris, repeat that question.
What was it like being you today?
You can't say good.
That's right. Fine.
Right. Yeah. Right.
That is such a golden question.
I like that a lot. Yeah.
So I don't take credit for that, and it came from some marriage conference, but I thought it was really good.
So good. Thanks for sharing that.
Another one is this. What was one struggle today, and what was one success today?
Those are great.
Yeah.
We do like a high-low high at our dinner table. We've shared that before. We have our kids do it too. But high-low high, you share a win, or something high, you share something kind of negative. So it could be, a success, a struggle, and then, peanut butter jelly sandwich it. It's like a compliment sandwich. You end with a high, but kind of like that. Yeah. So a struggle and a success.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One of the other things that Karen and I do is we've got these little conversation cards, and they're from Ramsey Solutions. You can order them, but it's just a deck of cards, and it's questions for humans is what they're called.
Cool.
And,
nice.
But there's just a bunch of questions, and they're just great conversation starters. And sometimes we'll take a couple cards out each night, and just have some below the surface conversation.
Yeah.
We have some of those too. I think it's from Leadership Think 3D here in Sioux Falls. We have a couple cards. Thomas made some for Mother's Day too.
Yeah.
You could probably just ask ChatGPT to generate some questions too if you need. Yeah. Budget friendly.
But it is, it is super helpful, and it does spur great conversation.
Our son usually goes and grabs one.
Yeah.
He likes them a lot.
He does.
Yeah, so it's fun.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's good to be able to have just even some starting points or a question to ask, because, it's by and large, it's much easier and it's not always this way, but most women, so I say women need to get out 20,000 words a day, and men it's half of that or whatever. So I've heard that study wasn't actually true. I don't know. I kind of believe for the most part it is true. But by and large, it is harder for us to engage. What we do, one of our things is, Karen will say, do you want to sit on the couch and talk together? Well, yeah. What that means is we're going to engage in, even 15 minutes of just some quality conversation of just one-on-one time. And so, but when she asks that, my natural tendency is, why is it so difficult?
Yes, I do want to go sit on the couch.
Yes, but one of the things I've learned, and this is true, is that, men by nature we're very factual and we want to fix it. We always want to throw a solution out. We want to throw it out really quick, as little conversation as possible. And here's the solution. But with our wives, it's more about the journey of getting to the solution and talking through it and being able to listen and the processing through it. And that takes time. And that just takes a listening ear. And so I think it's good just to be aware of our differences, which we'll get into the next one, of just being aware of each other's differences and the fact that, my wife needs that. Karen needs that quality time of just conversation, of me just listening and not necessarily fixing it or throwing the solution out. It's not so much about the solution. It's the conversation to get there.
Yeah.
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 Absolutely. Yeah, I can relate to that for sure. I mean, and two, just, even Chris, I think you touched on this, of just even being different in personalities and things like that, of knowing, like a big part, I think, of our communication is just acknowledging the emotion, acknowledging the feeling, where it's easy for me to be like, oh, well, here, like, this, like,
you don't need to fix it. You can just like be like, oh, I'm really sorry that happened.
Yeah,
or,
like, that's super frustrating.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
The quicker we can fix it, the less we have to talk.
You did that today. I dropped my new sunglasses. I actually bought a nice pair of sunglasses with a gift card I had. And then I like bumped into something and they went flying off my head and they landed, and I have a chip, my nice Ray-Bans, right like in front of my pupil. Like it was right in the line of sight. And I was like going on, like, I was like, Brian, I dropped them. You're like, oh, I'm like, oh, I'm really bummed about that. And then finally you were like, that's really frustrating, love.
Yes.
It's like, I'm sorry that happened to you. And I was like, oh, thanks.
Yeah.
And then I think I moved on. I was like, okay, well, anyways, we're going to go do this now.
Right.
So.
Right. But
Good
it was
job,
acknowledging.
Ryan.
It's acknowledging the feeling, the emotion behind it.
Yeah. Great job, Ryan.
Nice job.
Just give me
There we
knuckles.
go.
Right. Right. I'm working on it. Yeah.
So far, no community. People need to get plugged in. Good, safe people they can, be accountable with, or just be in community with. Good, safe, God-centered people. Be in conversation. I loved what you said about what was it like to be you today? What was, a success of the day? What was a struggle? And even the assignment that you gave to the couple about say one nice thing to your spouse every day. That's a great entry point for starting. Yeah. So it's
easy to go throughout your whole week without even doing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. Okay. So here's the third one. I put down just awareness of each other's needs. And again, this is another one where, you meet with couples and they know we're wired different, right? But they're not really aware that, God designed us differently. And he designed us differently actually for a reason. He designed us differently so that when we experience a marriage, of what a marriage is really supposed to be, which is, right, serving the other. If we were both wired the same, there really wouldn't be as much serving or sacrifice involved. So being aware of each other's differences and how we're wired and knowing that that's actually normal, a lot of people don't really grasp how that all works, and that we were actually made, God designed it that way.
Yeah.
Right. So like for an example, like by and large, there's tons of books on this, and they're all very similar. By and large, our wives' most basic need is to be loved and to be cherished. Okay. That's not our number one need. Our number one need, by and large, is to be respected and admired. And there's a little difference in that, right? A number one need of men is sex, the physical aspect of sex, right? That's probably not even on the top 5, maybe not even in the top 10 of our wives' needs, right? Now, one of those needs for our wives is non-sexual touch and affirmation, okay? But it's just amazing how God designed us to be wired and to have our needs be completely different so that we have to learn to serve one another, right? Mm-hmm. And it's a cool thing that when we actually love each other enough to be able to serve one another, what's uncomfortable for us or what doesn't come naturally for us, it's amazing how things just seem to work really well.
Yeah. And I think your needs probably start to align a little more. Like you just, that gap kind of closes. Mm-hmm. I feel like for us, like as we've grown in a relationship with the Lord, like I am more attracted to you and I am more like physically attracted just because I feel like our relationship is closer and stronger.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that, that emotional intimacy, I mean, this is something that I feel like that I've learned is emotional intimacy, which is being open, sharing about my day, talking, often will lead to physical intimacy. Mm-hmm. I mean, it can. Yes. Like, I'm not saying that always does, but
you don't do it for a false motive.
Right.
Like you've just gotten really good at doing that.
Right. But I think it all falls under the umbrella of intimacy and being closer together.
Yeah.
And that means, like, for me, hey, I have to speak. I have to say words. I have to share what I'm feeling, right. And that's super important. It's super important for us to grow together.
Yeah.
And that's, it falls under that umbrella of intimacy, of emotional, physical, Chris, I like what you said about non-physical intimacy or non-touch. Yeah. I think those things are so important, and they often, I mean, they're so intermingled together. And I think that's the piece that has been really, I think, important in our relationship.
Yeah.
Is understanding that it's intertwined. There's not, that's how it works.
Yeah, it's a good word.
Yeah. Yeah, like for instance, for us, and I think this is very common with couples, is that, we enjoy companionship with our wives. Like, I love it when, hey, I'm going to go to Menards to get some building materials you want to come along with. And Karen's like, oh, I don't want to go to Menards.
But does she do it?
But we talked about this.
You are like that with the couch. She's like, oh, Menards. But does she do it?
She does it because we turn them into these micro dates, right?
Yeah.
So remember these micro dates from our date night that we had, and Tony talked about, how you can turn a simple errand running trip into a micro date. Well, it's like, okay, it's not, hey, do you want to go to Menards with me so I can, get some paint or whatever? It's like, hey, you want to go on a little date together to Menards and blah, blah, well, of course. Yeah. I mean, it's just how it's presented and with the intention of, hey, I really want to do this with you.
Yeah.
But I love the companionship. I love just hanging out with my wife and, even just going places together. But all of that just has to do with intention and why do you want me to come along with you? Well, I like to spend time with you. That changes everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like the term micro date. Like micro date, I love that you call it that, you label it that, and you go in with that mindset too. That's so cool. I feel like, for us, we'd probably grab a coffee on the way and go do whatever, but make it feel like a date. And I think back to when you were dating your spouse, you probably would do anything together just to have that time. It probably wouldn't matter if it was Menards where it was. You'd be like, yeah, I want to hang out with you. But it's like getting back into that mindset of, let's go on our micro date.
Because we don't reality is we don't all have the ability to go on the traditional date night.
Yeah.
To go out
Right.
to a
Kids,
show or
sitters,
to dinner.
finances,
It doesn't
schedules.
always work that way, especially when you have kids. And so you find the opportunities, and a lot of it just has to do with the intention behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's exactly, Chris, intention. And I think that's so much about date night or whatever it is. Michelle, I'm just sitting here thinking about like most nights we walk around our block.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is such a rich time. It's 20 minutes, but it's such a rich time.
Unless it's icy, then it's 22.
Right.
But yeah.
Right. But reframing that, and I think oftentimes maybe a story can start to develop of, oh, we never go on dates. Oh, we never do this. We never do this. But I think I love that reframing in, hey, let's go on a date together. Let's go to Menards. Let's walk around the block. Let's go get groceries. I think that's the example that Tony Bohr always uses as they go to the grocery store.
Yeah. Yep,
And
they do.
it's such a rich
Ivy.
time for them. But it's making the everyday into into a date. And I think that's great.
And I don't know, this doesn't really count technically as a date, but when you come along, when we do things as a whole family, I feel like what you said, Chris, like Ryan and I, we love hanging out. So it's not just like me and the kids doing things, it's like all of us. And I feel like that even strengthens our relationship because usually throughout, like we're telling jokes and you're having fun with the kids, but you're also having fun with me. And that puts like relational equity into the bucket.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just spending time together.
Right.
So I had 3. I kind of put a bonus down here too.
All right.
I was going to mention before we get off of that. We were talking about differences between men and women. I wanted to go back to, because remember when we did that podcast with Shanti Feldhahn, and she talked about her book, Secrets of Sex and Marriage, and how I wanted to mention this because the world and our culture teaches us lies of the fact that, when we watch movies of, we go back to, one of our top needs is the physical intimacy piece, but that's not so much with the wives. Our culture teaches us that that's different. It teaches us that is, our top need. Our top need is our wife's top need is sex, and it's not true. And what happens is we're fed lies, and then all of a sudden we have these negative expectations in our marriage that, well, you're supposed to be this way. I mean, this is normal.
Yeah.
This is normal that our wives should act this way, and that is not normal.
Yeah.
That is not actually how they're wired and what their needs are. So I think it's just interesting I think that's good to mention that, is that I think what we see in the world, what we see on TV, what we see on YouTube and movies and all that is not actually truth.
I think if you add in like the overly sexualized culture and add in pornography too, I feel like that's probably what people are expecting then. Like it's gonna be like that. Well, that's not the case.
It is not the case.
Yeah.
And it rewires, so much, including your expectations.
Yeah. That's why it's really important for us to know what our actual needs are and to be able to be aware of that.
Yeah.
Of like, okay, that is not your top needs. So quit putting my expectations on you to be this way.
Yeah. I mean, I think expectations are so they creep in, and I think what often happens is you don't communicate that, and then resentment grows, and I mean honestly, like I think a lot of people have shared like normal is between you and your spouse, like that's normal of having the conversation, as we're talking about intimacy, one of the things I feel like everybody has said. Nobody's like, oh, well, it's, this many times a week. Like, because it's different for every couple.
Yeah.
I think it was Doctors Les and Leslie Parrott talked about that. The show we did with them was called The Gender Gap. And when they were here for a different date night, they said that it's really healthy to have a conversation with your spouse, because one spouse might think, oh, we're crushing it with, this many times. And the other might be like, oh, I'd really like, more connection, but to have that dialogue.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that way you're on the same page. Like, hey, what are you feeling? What are you needing?
Yeah.
How do you think we're doing with that?
Yeah.
And then for you, and then coming together.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, absolutely, Michelle. And that's going to be different. And you don't need to compare. You don't need to, quote unquote normal. Like,
right.
That's a conversation between you and your spouse and what works for your marriage. I think that's the important piece of it, as there's so many things out there and so many lies and so much cheap, imitation that's out there. It's between you and your spouse to have that conversation of needs will be different, and having that conversation what those are.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good word, Ryan.
100%. Yep. Okay, so here's the bonus. And this is actually just coming off of the series that we've just been in.
Oh, such a good series.
Yeah, and so we're wrapping it up. And I would just say this: slow down. Okay. Slow down. And I think we're running so much, and we don't create. We talked about this last Sunday of just creating margin in your schedule and in your life. And that's the other thing that I think I see a lot of is just a lot of busyness, a lot of running, and there's no margin. And especially when it comes to our kids, I think we're running our kids so much that our kids don't have margin in their lives. And I think margin is really important, because margin and basically time to do nothing helps their creativity. It helps them think of, well, what can I do? And I haven't done that for a while. Maybe I need to get out, for my daughter, it's like if she's not, running to dance practice or show choir or, school things or work, and she has downtime, it's like she'll get out her nails, she does nails and stuff,
fun.
and she'll do like art stuff. And, but, if we don't have margin and time to do nothing, I think we're stifling our creativity, and I think it's good, especially for our kids, that there's just downtime.
Yeah. Agree. Ryan, we've talked a lot about that, about how you grew up on the farm playing outside for hours a day. And our son actually is like that. We've just raised him up to not be dependent on, if he's bored, he doesn't go to his, he doesn't have a tablet. He's never actually had a tablet. He just has an old phone of mine that has a few apps on it, like the Bible app, and he watches soccer videos on YouTube Kids. But that's not his default. He has been drawing this week. He's in outside hours a day. And I think then even in our relationship, when we're not so busy, that's where you have some of those rich moments of, hey, let's go play pickleball, or let's sit in the living room and have tea and have a reading party. We just did that this week. Our whole family read together, and we just had those slower pace moments where it's not just busy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I heard somebody, it was kind of set up to be like a funny of like, kids nowadays don't know what it's like to be bored. Because they have so much there's inundating their minds, and so many things of like, I can go here, I can get on this device, I could watch TV, I could do all of these things. And I love that it actually, you're stifling creativity. Like, being bored is okay, because that slows you down to, Michelle, like you shared about this idea of having, hey, let's go do this. Let's, we have some time. Like, we don't have a jam-packed schedule. Let's go to the zoo or whatever. We have those moments where we can create memories. Together as a family, together as a couple, of we're not so busy that those moments are there. And I think that's so important. I love that. Yeah, this whole series, this Pace of the Race series,
so good.
just about what pace are you running? What race are you running?
I think it's one of my favorite series.
It's been so good.
Yeah.
It's been so good. Every week, it's just like, whoa, that.
We need to make a note to link that series to the show.
Absolutely.
I think too, I would just challenge parents out there to ask yourself the question, like, why? Why is your kid in all of those activities? Because I feel like we have the gift of having an older child who's 19 now, and we have a younger one. So we've not fallen into some of that with our younger one. We didn't with our first, but we really saw it come into full effect. Like, people were running their kids all over the place. And I mean, by the time they got to high school, they were either cut from the team or they were injured or whatever. And it's like all of those lost years of having a fractured family unit. People would be, the mom would be, up in Des Moines for the weekend with one kid at a tournament. The dad would be down in Omaha, and they'd be with like other spouses that were even their own. It was craziness to like, and so sad to hear that. But I think it's very common. And I think just from seeing that is like, at what cost? You're doing all of this, but what's the real cost here? Are you losing we just talked about community. Are you, missing out on your church community on the weekends? Do your kids like have that faith foundation? And are you fracturing your family unit? Is your marriage suffering because you're running in different directions? I think it's just...
and that's the other thing I've really been thinking a lot lately is why do we run so much? Mm-hmm. Why do people busy themselves so much, running from one thing to the next? And if you really get down to the core of it, it could be, not all of them, but it could be that there's a reason why we're doing that. And maybe that reason is we don't want to be still. We don't want to slow down, because when we have to slow down, there's some things that we have to take a look at. And by and large, I think a lot of us don't want to look at some things. Maybe that's something that has to do with yourself. Maybe that has to do something with your marriage. And there's some things that, you need to actually look at or come to grips with. But when we busy ourselves and we run, we don't have to do that.
Yeah.
It was kind of a cool story with our family. This was years ago. My son Noah, he's a fairly accomplished guitar player. Well, his whole guitar playing came about from us forcing him to slow down. And
wow.
I think it came about from us grounding him from doing anything, basically. And I can't remember if it was
not know that
for a week or a month. I can't remember what it was. It could have been a month. I don't know. But
God can use any situation.
He had
right?
nothing to do. So he picked up a guitar and he started figuring out songs. And that was really where everything started. So of just slowing down and forcing, if it's our kids, forcing our kids to have to try to, come up with something new, use their creativity. That can be good things can come out of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
God can use all things for his good, even grounding.
Yes.
I had not heard that story. That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so a recap of the 4 areas. Chris, can you just run us through those again on the things that you see that people are not doing when they come into your pastoral office?
No community. By and large, we need to be in community. We were designed to be in community and be in relationships. Second one is communication. We talk about it all the time, but it's having regular, good quality below the surface communication. Number 3 is, what was number 3?
Awareness. They had no awareness.
That's right. Awareness of each other's needs and our differences, which is huge. And then just slowing down.
Very good.
So good. Yeah. Thanks, Chris. Thanks for sharing those. Those are great. I love diving into that stuff.
And it just, I love that you brought up the pace of the race too, because it feels like such a good tie-in to that series we just came out of at Celebrate. And we say thank you to our listener. Thank you for joining in today. We're just really glad that you're here. And if you don't have a church home, we want you to know that we are here in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. We'd love to have you if you're in the area. We are just growing like crazy. We're actually adding a third service for the fall, and there's just a lot of momentum. The sermon series have just been on fire, and it's really cool to see the new people coming to church. So come and join us if you're around, or watch us online at Celebrate.church. All of that information is there. Chris has also put together marriage resources for you at Celebrate.church/marriage. We thank you so much for joining us, and we hope you have a great rest of your week.
Have a great week.